Alright, here's the review, take one. Guys, for the first 5, I just want to make sure you understand them. I'm just going to write the answers, and then so y'all have them. First one is C. Second one is E. Third one is B. That one's A. And number 5 is D. Make sure you know all of those. There'll probably be 2 of these on the final. For these, guys, once again, pick an A value, pick a B value. I would also, if you want to double check, pick 2 different A values, one positive, so one, in this case, since A is greater than 1 for number 6, I would pick 3, and then I would pick -3 and see, does it hold true for both statements if A and B are both negative. So in this case, if A is greater than -2, I'd pick -5, or, sorry, not -5, a 5, and I would pick B to be -5, and I'd try both of those to see, does it hold true to both statements. So yeah, like I said, once again, make sure you pick a positive and negative, because I'm going to put a trickier question on here than one of those 2. B, mean, minimum, and range. Mean is the average. Median is the middle. Mode is the most often ones. Maximum is just the highest number. So in this case, the highest number I believe is 69. And the minimum I believe is 42. And then the range is just saying 69 minus 42. So whatever the biggest one, whatever the smallest one is, and just subtract and find the range, and whatever that gives you. Alright guys, from here, we're going to go over 10, 11, and 12, and 13. So, I'm just going to go over 13 with y'all. So from here, do stat edit, put in the values for 13. After you do that, go to second y equals, enter in the values. My x minimum for this one would be -6. My x max would be, sorry, it's not going to be -6. I'd say -10. I just want to go a little bit past that. A little bit past my minimum, maximum, and my scale. Just leave it as 1. My y min would be, I'd say -10. My y max is 0, so I'd go to 5, and then my scale would be 1. And I'd look at it. I haven't looked at it yet. I would believe it's a quadratic, but I'm not 100% sure. So it's either that or it's a absolute value. One of those 2. I could be wrong completely though. But do it, graphic, figure out what it is, and go from there. 14, 15, 16, and 17, and 18 and 19, guys, that's just basically saying what it is. So 15 is x is greater than 2, or sorry, x is less than 2. X is less than 2. 17 is x is greater than or equal to -6. 18 says the set of all numbers greater than 0. Well, that would be x is greater than 0. That's all it's saying. All real numbers, you would just say are. Set of all numbers less than or equal to 10. So all numbers less than or equal than 10 would be x is less than or equal than 10, or x is greater than 50. So it's just stating what's there. That's all you're doing through all of those. Alright, here, we went over the parent functions again. Make sure you know all of your parent functions. I'll make sure to put 2 of these on here. Guys, you need to know your parent functions. It's plain and simple. It's just one of the common things that is going to come up, and make sure you know how to shift them. So, once again, the answers are E, G, D, I, quadratic is B, F, Square root is j c, or cj, and exponential is ah. Square roots, guys, make sure you understand that you know how to read a graph, or whether to tell if it's a function or not, looking at a graph or looking at a table. If I'm looking at a table, it doesn't matter which way the table goes, all I'm looking for are, do my x values repeat? So this is a function, but if another 2 shows up, it is not a function because my x shows up twice. It doesn't matter if it's like this or like that. Y values are okay, so here I have a 1 in my y value, a 1 in my y value. Does not matter. It only matters about the x values. X values cannot repeat. So because my x values repeat there, that is not a function. 29 and 30 and 31 we're not going to do. So we're going to move on to 32, 33, 34. Alright, here I'm going to do one of them. Increasing, decreasing. Cross out. And negative, positive, cross out. Negative, positive is easy though. Negative, positive just says when is it a positive y value, when is it a negative y value. So here, we'll go through 34. 34, I have to know what kind of function it is. Guys, your functions, when you talk about it, you should know what it looks like, and maybe just go from there. Since this is a quadratic, it's going to be, look something like that. My domain is going to be all real numbers. So, all real numbers. My range is going to be y is greater than or equal to -4. It's going to be a minimum. And the min would be -4. My zeros is basically where it crosses the x-axis, and it is 3 and -1. And my zeros for this one, like I said, once again, it's just where I cross the negative or the x values. So it's at 3 and -1. And that's it for that one. Alright. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing functions. So here, anytime you have f of a number, all you're doing is plugging in that number into that function. So 36, you want to slide down here and do it. 36 is 2, so it's going to be 2 times 2 plus 1 plus, I'm adding it back into f, so make sure you put parentheses. The reason why, guys, is if that would have been a minus sign, if I would be subtracting it, I'm going to be subtracting, I'm going to multiply that -1 all the way across to whatever's in there. So make sure you put it inside parentheses to do that. So it's going to be 2 times -3 plus 1. So this is going to be 5 plus, that's -6 plus 1. So that's plus -5, which gives me 0. Adding the functions together, and it has just x, you're keeping just x. So I'm just adding f of x and g of x and combining like terms. So my like terms are 2 of x and 8 of x. So it's going to be 3x squared plus 10x minus 1. And that is it. All you're doing is adding your like terms in f of x and g of x. If you're subtracting it, once again, I would say 2x plus 1 minus parentheses, and then I write g of x, and then I would distribute that -1 across to all of it. So I'd have -3x squared plus 8x plus 2, and I'd go from there. Make sure you understand, if it is subtracting, that you do that. Multiplying. You would just set it up as 2x plus 1 and 3x squared plus 8x minus 2. From here, guys, it is going to be a bit of a mess, but you're going to multiply every single thing across and say, what do I get? Combine like terms. So if I do this, I get 6x cubed plus 16x squared minus 4x, I get 3x squared plus 8x minus 2. And then from here, guys, combine like terms, so you get 6x cubed plus 19x squared plus 4x minus 2, and then that's the answer. Last one I want to go over is number 40. Guys, f of g of x means I'm going to take my f of x function, and I'm going to plug it in, or I'm going to plug in g of x into that. So I'm going to take the shell of f of x, which is 2x plus 1, and I'm going to replace my x. I'm going to replace it to whatever g of x is equal to. So in this case, I will take 2 parentheses g of x, 3x squared plus 8x minus 2 plus 1, and then just simplify that. Multiply the 2 across, combine like terms, so on and so forth. Make sure you know how to do this. Alright, multiplying polynomials and factoring. This is something we've been doing all year pretty much, so I'm going to do a couple of each and go from there. So first things first is number 44, guys. Make sure you understand that it's going to be x minus 6 times x minus 6. When I multiply this out, I'm going to get x squared minus 6x plus 36. Combine my like terms, I get x squared minus 12x plus 36, and that is my answer. Do not just square them individually. It is wrong. Here, 43, I will do, you just multiply across. Let's say difference of squares, so I get 4x squared minus 6x plus 6x minus 9. My middle terms are going to cancel out, and I have 4x squared minus 9. You all should be pretty much able to do this. The harder ones, I think, are going to be the factoring, so I'll go over more of those. Factoring. So if I look at 40, guys, I just say, what do they both have? There's an x squared. Is it a difference of squares? Difference of squares means it's something squared minus something else squared. So in this case, it is not a difference of squares. It's 2x plus 1. So 2x plus 1. Can I factor it? Does it have an x squared? Does it have an x? Does it have a number? It does not. So what can I take out? What do they both have in common? 2x and 10. They both have a 2. So I'll take out a 2. Gives me x plus 5. That is it factored. That is it. You're done. 48. You have 16x squared minus 81. Once again, guys, I'm looking. This is 16x squared. If I think about what's 16x squared, that's 4x times 4x. Okay, that's a perfect square. What's 81? 81 is 9 times 9. So this is going to be 4x minus 9 and 4x plus 9. It's something times something, and then something times something gives me those things. And the only difference is my signs in the middle are going to be changed. 50 is prime, meaning it is not factorable. It just doesn't factor. And we'll do 52. So 52, guys, what I do is I always say, what times what gives me 6x squared? What times what gives me 6x squared? So my options, I'll write up over here to the left, 6 and 1 and 3 and 2. Correct? What times what gives me 20? I'll write in a different color up here. I think that's it. So now I'm going to guess and check. I don't know the answer to this. Because 20 is fairly big and 23 is fairly big, I'm going to start with my small numbers of 6 and 2. So 3x, 2x, and I'm going to go from here. I'm trying to get to negative 23. So I'm going to try 4 and 5. I want to get somewhere around the numbers I want, so I'm going to put 5 here, and the 4 here. To check my work, I'm going to multiply 3x times 4. And every time you check your work, guys, you're going to multiply your last two numbers and your middle two numbers and say, does that give me what I want? This is 10x. Because of this sign here, because that is a plus sign, I'm going to add those two up and say, does that give me what I want, which is 23x? It gives me 22. It's close. So that didn't work out. So now I'm just going to switch them and say, does this make a difference? Does this give me what I want? So I'll put a 5. I'll put a 4. And I'll say 15x, and that's 8x. That gives me 23. So that's my answer. Because it's a plus sign, my signs are also going to be the same. But how do I add two numbers up together and get a negative? Well, both of them are negative. So that is our answer. I'll do 51 just to make sure you all understand. So 51, same thing. 1 and 15, 3 and 5. The plus side with 15, there's only two options. But if I switch 2 and 2 and it doesn't work, I cross out 2 and 2. I'll show you why. So I have 3x, I have 5x. Let's pick 2 and 2. Alright guys, that's same minus sign, so I'm going to be subtracting when I check my work. So I'm going to multiply here and here to check my work. So that is 6x and 10x. If I subtract those, that gives me 4x. It doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. I'll figure out the negative positive in a second. So, that doesn't work out. If I switch 2 and 2, it's not going to change anything. So my answer is not going to use 2 and 2. So now I'm going to use 1 and 4. If I put a 4 here, guys, and I check my work, that gives me 20. That gives me something way, way far away from my 7x. So that would be a waste of time to put the 4 there. Think about what you're putting and how you're going to check it out before you put it down. So if that's a 4, that's a 1. That gives me 12. That gives me 5. That gives me 7x. When I subtract. But I want a negative 7x. So I want to start with negative 12 and then I want to add 5 to it. Am I that loud? So that gives me negative there, positive there. So I want a negative 12 and I want to add a positive 5. So I gotta say 3 times 4 gives me a negative 12. So one's gotta be negative. Moving on. 53. Slope. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And you just plug it in. From here, x1, y1, x2, y2. And you just say 15 minus 5 over 3 minus negative 2. Make sure you write the minus negative 2 because that's going to turn into a plus. And that's going to be 10 over 5. So my slope's going to be 2. Make sure that. 54 and 55, y equals, and then graph. Figure out where you cross. Determine the slope. Guys, rise over run. For these, I'd find pretty points. Most of your pretty points are going to be the y-intercept. And you just count where it goes down again. So that one's there. So that's down 2 and over 5. It's down. So as you're going down, it's negative. This one's up. I can't really read on this graph. I think that's a pretty point, but I also think that one's a pretty point, and that can't happen. So I'll have to look again and see. Actually, I think both of them are. So I think it's up 1 over 2. I think that slope is 1/2. Not sure, but that's what it looks like to me from this angle. Alright, moving on. Alright guys, on 58, stat edit. Enter your values in, and then go to stat calc, linear regression, and do it that way. That's the easiest way to do it. Go from there. If you want to, you can plug and chug, because it is multiple guess. You can plug in your answers and see which ones work. Guys, all these word questions are just give you a formula, plug and chug into the formula. So we'll do a couple of them. 60 says it costs $2,400 to pave a driveway to your home with asphalt. and each year it costs $125 to reseal the driveway with blacktop. They give you a formula. Find when the cost of the driveway will cost $3,500. Well, 3,500 equals 125 T for time plus $2,400. Subtract, divide. That is a T. Looks like a plus sign. Divide, or subtract and then divide, and you get your answer. Guys, all of these questions, I understand they look hard. They give you a formula. They just want you to plug and chug into the formula. Alright, here's the fun it started. Solving for X. A couple things I'm just going to go over with you. I'm not going to go over how to solve for X. If you can't solve for X yet, I have failed you, and I'm sorry. The key thing about solving for X with inequalities, though, for 64 and 65, if you divide by negative, so if I have negative 5x is greater than or equal to, let's say 25. If I divide by the negative 5, if I'm dividing by negative 5, not adding, not subtracting, dividing or multiplying by negative number, your inequality is going to flip. And that's going to give me x is less than or equal than negative 5. Make sure you understand that. If I subtract, so here, if I subtract 4 to both sides, I have negative 4 is less than 2x. I do not switch the sign. I only switch the sign when I divide by a negative number. It's not a number, it's a negative number. So here, if I divide by 2, I still have x is less than negative 2. I did not switch the sign. You only switch your sign when you divide by a negative number. 66, 67, and 68 are all absolute values. When you deal with absolute values, you're going to have 2 answers every single time. So for all of these values, you're going to have 2 answers. And the reason why is because if I want the value of 7, well, since it's an absolute value, and absolute values turn everything into a positive, I could have negative 7 and 7, and those would both give me 7 as an answer. So that's why there's 2 answers. So I'll do the harder one. So 68. So 68, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to get my absolute value by itself. So on 66 and 67, the first thing you have to do, they're both different. 66, I'll set it up for you, and then we'll go from there. Since its absolute value of x minus 3 is going to equal 7/3. And now I'm going to have x minus 3 is equal to 7/3, and I'm going to have x minus 3 is equal to negative 7/3. So that's where my 2 answers come in. One's negative, one is positive. On 67, first I'm going to add that 4 over. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add that 4 both sides. And now I have 3x minus 5 is equal to 4. And now it's going to be just like the problem we just did. So I'm going to divide by 3. And so what I'm going to do next is divide each side by 3. And then I have x minus 5 is equal to 4/3. X minus 5 is equal to negative 4/3. Add 5 to both sides. Leave it as an improper fraction. It doesn't really matter. Alright, number 8, or 68, the same thing, subtract 8 from both sides. So I'm going to skip a step. I know y'all are probably going to complain and go, how did I get 6? But I subtracted 8 from both sides. And now my equation is going to be 2x minus 6 is equal to 6. 2x minus 6 is equal to negative 6. And just solve for x. So you'll have 2 answers. One's going to be 0, like this one, guys. When I add 6 to both sides, I have 2x equals 0, and it's going to probably freak you out and say, how do I do it? If I divide by 2, 0 over 2 is still 0. It doesn't matter. Alright, so guys, 69, 70, and 71. You're basically going to solve 2 equations at the same time. So here I have negative 3, absolute value 2x minus 1, 7. So basically what I do to one side, I'm going to do both sides at the same time. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And that gives me, I wish I had more room to do this. So it gives me negative 2x, and 8. And so now I'm just going to divide each side by 2. So I have divide by 2. Once again, I didn't divide by a negative, so my inequalities are not going to flip. But if I did divide by a negative, my inequalities would flip. It's going to be -1 is less than x, which is less than 4. And that's my answer. The other one that I really need to go over on this one is 71, 72, and 74. These are all going to be done pretty much the same way. Because it's a absolute value, I'm going to have, once again, 2 answers. But the only trick that's going to change is, what I would do here is I have 2 as the value of x minus 5 is greater than -6. And then I'm also going to have -2 x minus 5 is less than -6. And I'm going to solve it that way. Alright, so we're going to scrap everything I just did. So, we're going to redo 71. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide everything by -2. So I have x minus 5 is less than, because I divided by a -2, my inequality did flip, 3. So now, because it's an inequality and it's an absolute value, I'm going to have 2 answers. X minus 5 is less than 3, and x minus 5, I'm going to switch the sign, and I'm going to switch the 3 to be a -3. And I'm going to solve those 2, and I get my answer. So I have 8 and 2. So that's what your answers are. So that's how you're going to do 20 or 72, 73, and 74, and 71. System equations, guys, I'm not going to do system equations. All I'm going to tell you is do stat edit, put it in a matrix, make sure your x's are lined up with your y's and every single time, and it's your numbers. And do it that way. 81, 82, and 83 are all system equations type word problems. So I'm going to tell you how to do this one. 81 says you have $355 or $3.55 in nickels and quarters. Alright, so first things first is you need to understand when it deals with money, money's always going to go with money. So that's going to be 0.05 N, so I'm just saying each price of the nickel, each price of the quarter, plus 0.25 Q is equal to $3.55. And then I have a total of 39 coins. Coins doesn't mean that I care about the value at all. It just means I have nickels and coins. If I have a nickel and a quarter, I have one of each. So there's no value on it. So it's just going to be N plus Q is equal to 39. System equations, stat edit, plug it in, and you get your answer. Alright, so that's that one. Hamburgers and stuff, guys, those are all going to be pretty much the same. So, that's that. 84 and 85. Guys, my vertex is always going to be the opposite sign. So this one's going to be 5, -18. And my next one's going to be -3, 2. So those are my 2 vertexes, and I'm just going to go from there. Minimum, maximum, depending if it's going up or down. This is going to be, since it looks like this one's going to be a minimum, that one's going to be a maximum. And transformations, the numbers out front, it's going to make it skinnier or wider. The 2 outside is going to shift it up or down. 18 is going to shift it down. And the 5 is going to shift it left to right. We've gone over this way too many times for me to do this problem. Alright, the reason why we've been factoring all year is once I factor, so we'll get 86. Once I factor, I'm going to set 2x minus 5 equal to 0. And I'm going to set 3x plus 4 equal to 0 and solve. So all that is just adding in one more step and solving it. 87, before you factor it, set it equal to 0, then solve it. And stuff like that. So guys, 89 is a unique situation since there's only one answer. Because guys, I'm saying when is x plus 3 squared going to equal 0? We'll take the square root of both sides. Square root of 0 is, you guessed it. Oh my gosh, I'm hitting erase. Is 0, so it's going to be x plus 3. Oh my gosh. 30 minutes in and I'm already getting tired. Is equal to 0, so x is going to equal just -3. I's and stuff, we've just gone over those, guys. I'm not going to go over those. Fine, I'll go over 1. -2 plus 5i, this is number 92. Alright guys, this negative sign, I'm going to have to distribute it across what I've been talking about all day. And so it looks like that. And so I have -5 plus 12i. Alright, transformations, guys, once again, those are the same concepts. If it's underneath the square root, it's going to go left or right. So the key thing here is to know where the starting point is. So the starting point of this one's going to be -6, -2. Starting point of this one's going to be 1 and 4. And go from there. Graph it, figure out. 0 just talks about when it crosses the x-axis. It is possible for it not to cross the x-axis, so make sure you understand that. Someone find the expressions, guys, for the fractions. Just add and subtract positive and negative fractions, guys. That's all you're doing. Multiplying here, multiplying there. I'll go over 98. 4x squared, well that's 2 and 2, x and x. So once again, same concept, finding pairs, so my answer is just going to be 2x. Pretty simple. That 3 there on the quadratic means it's a cube root, which means instead of finding pairs of 2, I'm finding pairs of 3. So this answer is going to be x to the 5th. Here, I don't know what else to tell y'all, but the answer is going to be 3x raised to the 3rd power. Because, guys, I have 3x, 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 3x. I have 3 pairs of 3x's. So if you want to multiply that out and get 27 cubed, or 27x cubed, you can. Make sure you understand that you're going to add those exponents, simplify the square roots, and then combine them. That's about it. 102 I will do just because it looks kind of hard. So here, guys, when I multiply square root of 5 times square root of 5, that gives me 5. It doesn't matter what it is. So here, since it's 2 square roots of x times 3 square roots of x, that's going to give me 6x, because my square root of x times square root of x is equal to x. Plus 8 square roots of x minus 3 square roots of x minus 4, so 6x plus 5x square root, or 5 square roots of x minus 4. That is your answer. And we're finally here, last page. Guys, on these you're just going to square them. At 104, divide by 5 first, so you get square root of 2x minus 3 is equal to 2. Square both sides, so you get 2x minus 3 is equal to 4, and solve. The hardest one on those 3 is the last one, because when I square it, that's going to give me x plus 4 quantity squared is equal to 2x plus 8. And so, guys, this is going to equal x squared plus 8x plus 16, and then you're going to have to move everything over and then factor, and then set each of those equal to 0 and solve. And guys, I understand y'all think those are all extremely hard. Guys, they give you formulas. So we'll just do one of each. An object should be dropped from the height to obtain a velocity of that. It gives me g, it gives me v, it doesn't give me h. So I know that 32 is equal to square root of 2, g is gravity, it gives me that, 32 times h. So guys, all this is solve for h. Square both sides, so it's going to be 32 squared divided by 64 is equal to h. I got 64 by multiplying 2 times 32. Like I said, I don't have a calculator, so I have no idea what that is. But guys, all you're doing is giving a formula, plugging and chugging, and figuring out your answers. That one, the arm is 500. So I'm looking for t, for my period, is 2 pi square root of 500 over 32. Plug that into a calculator, you get an answer. That's how you do it. 114, 115. It gives me R. It gives me H. Plug it in for 114. The other one is my distance. It gives me D. It wants to know how high I'm flying. So it's going to be 200 is equal to the square root of H squared plus 2H, and then R is 3977. And you just square both sides, divide, or I guess square both sides, and you're going to have to factor this one. But, guys, it's not that difficult. Trust me, you can do it. Guys, good luck. I will post the answers, on Headline.